Hi, in this video we're going to go through using our Linux-based image analysis workstations in the image analysis suite of the bioimaging facility. Well, fundamentally, Linux systems work differently to Windows. From an end-user day-to-day point of view, they're very similar. There are a few different ways you can access these. The first one is to physically go into the image analysis suite and just log in. Today I'm going to go through the remote access option because that will be more widely of interest, I think. And for this, there are a couple of different ways you can connect. The first way is to use the X2Go software that's pre-installed on the system and is the university recommendation. So to do this, I'll put a link to this site, but you can go to SharePoint and there's some instructions for different operating systems. So you have to go to the X2Go client install option. On Windows, it's straightforward enough. On Mac, it's a bit more of a faff. You have to install Xquartz as well. I find there are a couple of disadvantages to using X2Go. The first one being that you have to use it through Mac or Windows. You can't use it on, say, Android, which I quite like to do to just be able to check in on how an analysis is running. Also, I find the performance to be a bit laggy. And also, as mentioned, it's a bit more of a faff to install. The alternative approach, which I'm going to go through today, uses something called SSH tunneling, but then will allow us to use the standard remote desktop software. So in order to do this, you've just got to open up a terminal, which on Mac, that's just terminal, or on Windows, you can type terminal as well, and it will take you through to PowerShell. And we just need to type in one command, which I'll copy and paste into the video description. So what we've got here is it's SSH, so that's just telling it what we want it to do. Then the bit that we're trying to connect to, so in this case, it's my username at, and then the address of the computer. You can find the computer addresses on the image analysis workstation page. There's a little table at the bottom. What you're looking for is the IT tag, and then it's .users.brist.ac.uk. And of course, you use your own username here. Then space, hyphen, capital L, space, and it's got to be 3389 : localhost : 3389. And this is the tunneling bit. That basically takes the communication and passes it through a particular port that allows us to use the remote desktop. Sounds more complicated than it is. You basically just pop this into the terminal that you've opened up, press enter, and after a moment, it's going to ask you for your password. So that's what I'm going to type in here. And then all being well, you should get something that looks like this. And we're done with terminal at this point. We can't close it, otherwise that will close the connection, but we can just minimize it. So in order for that to work, the same restrictions apply as if you were using remote desktop to access a Windows system. So you've either got to be on campus or connected through the VPN. And there's instructions on using the VPN or at least links to the VPN documentation from the university on our image analysis workstations page. Once we've got to here, to use it through the remote desktop software is literally a case of opening up what is now called Windows app, or used to be the remote desktop. You can go to plus, add PC, and then at a minimum, all you've got to do is type in localhost. It actually simplifies this whole process because we're already connected in through that SSH tunnel. And then credentials, if you haven't already got them saved, just go add credentials, and it's your username at bristol.ac.uk, and then the password. Enter, and then add. So it's just that. Oh, and you can also, if you want, give it a nicer name. So it will by default just call it localhost. You can call it, for example, Linux system. Unlike a standard remote desktop where it's at this point here that you're specifying the address of the computer, that's been done when we were doing our SSH tunnel. So we're effectively already connected to that computer. So we can just use a single login or a single remote desktop configuration here, irrespective of whether we're connecting to Null or Namaski or any of the other Linux systems. What I'll do is just double click on this, minimize that, and then in a second it should just take me straight through to the desktop. So this is the XFCE desktop environment. One of the things about Linux is that you don't just have a single sort of graphical desktop that you can connect to. Indeed, if you were to connect to this locally, you would see the GNOME desktop, which looks a bit different. You've got controls down the left-hand side, for example. We use XFCE when remoting in just because it's a bit more stable for these sort of connections. You've got shortcuts to particular hard drives on the desktop by default, which is quite convenient. Or if you go down here, you can click this and this takes you through to the file browser. So by default, you'll go into your home directory. So this is just like your profile if you would have on Windows with the usual sort of folders, documents, downloads, and so on. You can go through to the file system, but generally there's no need to. If you are here and you want to get back to your folder, it's just a case of going home and then to your user account, and you're back here where this is where your files are generally going to be. If we want to connect to any of the shared network drives from, say, other microscopes or analysis computers, it's the same syntax that you would use on Mac. So it's smb:// and then the address. So in this case, it's going to take me through to the Nipkoff computer. I press enter, have to add in my details. So username, domain is UOB, but it's auto-filled that for me. And there we go. And this is through, and we can see all the different folders there, users data, and so on. From here, you can just copy data as you would, exactly the same as Windows. As is standard, there is no OneDrive on the computers. That's not just a Linux thing. You'll find the same is true of our new Windows-based image analysis software. If you want to get to OneDrive, you're going to have to do it through the web browser. There is a shortcut already here for the web browser, so you just click that. It's just a reskinned or re-icon version of Google Chrome, so it should be familiar, and then you can access OneDrive from there. In terms of installing software, we can also do that using the usual techniques. It's an image analysis computer, so I'm going to install Fiji. So just go to fiji.sc, wait for that to load, and then I'm going to hit the big green download button when we get there. So it's automatically picked up that I'm on Linux, and we're just in normal Chrome, so we just get the standard download there. So I'm going to close this, and that will have gone into my downloads folder. So I can get to it from the shortcut on the left, right click, and then I'll just extract it here, which will take a moment. And that will just give me the standard Fiji folder. Excellent, so that's there. So I can just delete that. And you see there it's gone into the wastebasket, which is the same as recycle bin. So I can right click that, empty wastebasket. That was very similar to Windows. And inside here, whereas with Windows, you would have Fiji Win64. On Linux, it's Fiji Linux x64. So double click that, and it's just like using normal image share at this point. It's the latest version with all the latest bits and pieces in it. And just to demo how we could update this, we're going to help run the updater, and we'll install Mia. Okay. So manage update sites, IJPP plugins, yeah. Apply and close, apply changes, that'll download, all quite quick. But hopefully at this point you can see that largely using this actually is very similar to Windows. A couple of things are in slightly different locations, but otherwise you're just dealing with known software, file browsers, and the internet. So now I can go back in and load that. So that was in my downloads folder, Fiji Linux x64. Our plugins, and that just works as usual. It should be able to load in the same workflows that you've got elsewhere. So that's a piece of software I've downloaded off the internet. There are also bits of software that come pre-installed, so you can get to all your settings from there. There are things like calculators and notepads. Here is called text editor. But otherwise, it's all very, very familiar. If you want to get to a system monitor, you can do that from that menu as well. There it is. So processes view shows you everything there, what's using the CPU. So resources here, so graphs of CPU memory, the disk. In terms of additional storage on the computer, there are shortcuts on the desktop, but you can go to these drives here. So file system, that's your main file system. Like I say, you don't really need to go into that. Just go to your user folder link there. There's a couple of additional drives there. And the main data drive that was on this computer is called RAID 1. The reason it shows up twice is that RAID is a system which can be used and is being used in this instance to take two physical hard drives and mirror them to provide a bit of backup in case one of them fails. And the way Linux behaves, it just shows both of them, but if you click either, it will show the same thing. For this, I had to enter my password just to unlock them, but now we're into the usual folders that you would expect to see there. So there was some Python Anaconda environments there, there's the users data folder, and so on. I guess the only final thing to look at is logging off. So that is a bit different. You just go up to your name in the top here, and you go log out, And then at this point, we're finished, so we can just close this window and allow it to terminate. But while this was being run from Mac, exactly the same operation within Windows, in that you're just going to you're going to terminal, typing in that command, that SSH command, and then going to your standard remote desktop and just adding in the address as localhost. If you've got any questions about this, you can contact us on wolfson-analysis@bristol.ac.uk. And we've also got details on that website, which I'll link in the description.